Cool. There's two sessions set up, and we're going to basically be doing the same thing for both of them, but on one of the sessions we're going to return our entire mix from Ableton on one stereo channel into Pro Tools, and in the other session we're going to bring every channel in on its individual track into Pro Tools. So in one instance you would do your mix in Ableton, do whatever you wanted to do in there, change your faders, pan, apply your processors, and then just bring it into Pro Tools, and Pro Tools will just handle that as one stereo feed coming in. So that means that even if you've got like 10 channels in Ableton, they're all coming in on a left and right channel into Pro Tools. That's fine if you're happy with Ableton and you want to use Ableton for the majority of your mixes. Another way to do it is to bring each of the returns in on their own channel. Okay, and that's a bit more complicated, but it's far more useful because it means that you've got one fader in Pro Tools that basically you can apply all your plugins to, and that's only going to be accepting signals from one instrument inside Ableton. So the way I always like to think about this in the whole rewire process is that in the back of this machine I've got exposed cables and I've got inputs and I've got outputs, and I can connect things. The way to think about it would be that there would be two machines here, one running Pro Tools, one running Ableton, and I've got loads of stuff happening in Ableton, but I've got two cables coming out the back of that machine that come into this machine with Pro Tools on it and then take the signal in. Now this is what rewire does. It creates virtual routing within your system, and it means that you can run it all, of course, within one machine, which is quite handy. Okay, so I'm not sure how that appeared. I'll just get rid of that. So this is me creating now this session here, Pro Tools session 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is change my tempo. So do Alt and 2 to bring that up, or I could also go click click up here, change it to 120. I could click on this little plus next to the little icon there as well. And the fourth way is to go to Event, Tempo Operations, and bring up your Tempo Operations window. Okay, so whatever way best suits you, use that. Click Apply, you'll see that it's applied. If the little dialog box doesn't disappear, just click Close, as long as it's changed up here. Okay, I'm going to bring in my click track. I'm now going to bring in my different types of tracks here as well. So Command Shift and N brings up my new tracks dialog box. Track or new does exactly the same thing. Try and get to use your shortcuts, that should be ideal. So I'm going to create 4 MIDI inputs, MIDI tracks. I'm going to create 4 stereo auxiliary inputs, and what else have I to create in here? There. 1 stereo master fader, of course. Every session should have a stereo master fader. It allows you to keep your eye on the overall levels in your session. And click Create here. Now it also says here 1 drum loop. Okay, so I'm going to import audio. So even though we're setting this up, we are recapping a lot of skills and we are refining our operation of the system. So I'm going to bring in a little loop that I like. So I'll just save that as I go and go to File and Import Audio. Now on your desktops and your documents, you should have a audio loops folder. Audio loops and sound effects it's called. In here you've got loads of different genres, and in there you've got loads of different types of instrumental loops. So I'm just going to bring in a drum loop. So I'm going to get into my R&B and go to drums, double click, and in here I've got loads of different types. So I've already got some that are at 107, which means that's the BPM that they're operating at. So just to keep things easy, I'm just going to pick one of the ones that's already tempo mapped to the session. Click on it and then click play, and that allows me to audition it. Okay, I quite like that first one. So I'm going to click on it and copy all. When I copy it all, excuse me, moves it from the audio files, or from the audio loops folder that's saved in the desktop, and it copies the audio now into the session folder for this particular session. If I don't hit copy all and I take this session away, then I'll lose that audio. Okay, I can no longer find it. So copy all, click done, and then click open. That now moves that session, that audio into the audio files folder for this session. And here we have, there it is there. So it should be in time. As we can see, it perfectly aligns up with the grids here. And if I play it along with my click track, okay, perfect. So there's plenty of ways that we can bring in loops that don't conform to tempo in here, but we'll get to all that later on. In fact, we've already looked at it in the first couple of weeks, but just for the sake of easiness, Just going to put this little marker in there. Okay, cool. So, I'm going to scroll down. In this document, it's got all the instructions you need. Okay, it's told you what to name the files, and then how to insert the plugins, how to do all this sort of stuff. But I'm just going to walk through it, and then you've got a video to work along with this tutorial. Okay, everything's blue now as well, Ableton suite that we've got in here, so don't worry if it looks a wee bit different, it'll still do the same thing. Okay, so I've opened up Ableton before, but it's currently closed. What I'm going to do now is insert Ableton on each of these auxiliary tracks, and this is me now creating a gateway to the Ableton software when I open it up. If I don't have that, then there's no way for them to communicate. So this is what I'd call the handshake. Okay, by putting this plugin in here, we're creating a communication with an external bit of software. So I go to my plugins, same as I do everything, it's very formulaic. Once you do this a couple of times, you'll be very comfortable with it. Click on Ableton Live, and it brings up this little window. Now that that's open, that means that the computer is poised, it's ready to communicate with Ableton. So what should happen is, when I open up Ableton, we should see in a little dialog box that it's running as a ReWire slave. It's this little bit in here. If you open up Ableton normally, you'll just get the bottom two lines there, sorry. After that, you'll, when you open it up with Ableton plugin installed and activated in Pro Tools, it will open with the ReWire slave. So it basically initiates that little protocol there. Okay, so now I'm going to open up Ableton. And hopefully, as it opens up, there we go, running as ReWire slave. So Pro Tools is the master here, and it's basically sending all the data to Ableton. So things like your transport controls, play, stop, record, etc. can all be controlled in Pro Tools. When I hit play in Pro Tools, I should then see it playing in Ableton as well.
Sorry, when you click on Ableton, should the ReWire come up usually?
When you open up Ableton, when you've got Ableton Live as a plugin open in Pro Tools, you should see open as ReWire slave. Once it's open, I'm just going to create a new live set, okay, and get rid of this default thing that's in here. Okay, so if I'm in Pro Tools and I hit play, and then go into Ableton, we should see that it's playing as well. Okay, pretty straightforward, and then you can stop it. So you can obviously stop it and start it in Ableton as well, but it means that it's sending the right information. That if I go to this point in the track in Pro Tools, then it speaks to Ableton and says, okay, start playback from bar, whatever you're at, okay? I can't see my bars, 2 seconds. Just going to make sure I can see my bars here, rules, bars and beats. Okay, cool, so that's the easy bit. And here what we're going to do is, on each of these auxiliaries, we're going to insert Ableton. So I'll go back to my mix window in here, and for each of these auxiliaries, I'm just going to bring in Ableton Live on every one of them. Of course, what's that?
On the forum?
Yeah, on the forum, yep. And I can just drag it as well, holding in Alt to not copy it across. That's a wee bit easier. So what you can see here is that it's currently set to no output. This is saying which output from Ableton is going to be sending the signal to this particular channel. So if I leave it at no output, it means that the signal will be coming out of Ableton and just hit a brick wall. It's not going anywhere. So when I put in my output that I want to use in here, it creates a little pathway, a little door that then starts sending the signal through into Pro Tools. So I'm going to make this first one mix L and R. The next one's going to be 3 and 4, 5 and 6, then 7 and 8 as well. So it's a bit more complicated than just using one stereo auxiliary, but that's all I really expect you guys to do today. In this case, mix L and R is just the default output from Ableton is just going to send into this particular channel here. Cool, so I'll get that set up. I'll go back to my Word document here. Again, if you just follow this through bit by bit, then you'll be quite comfortable with it, okay, with the video as well. So, these MIDI channels should be accepting data from a MIDI keyboard, okay? If I just record enable each of these, you can see that there's a signal coming in. But of course, the signal isn't going anywhere, so currently all it's got is MIDI data coming in and doesn't know what to do with it. What I want to do is, I want to install or activate a few plugins in Ableton, MIDI plugins, just virtual instruments that can trigger sounds. I'm then going to send MIDI data from here out into Ableton and bring the audio back into these channels here. Okay, so I've got the functionality of Pro Tools with the sounds of Ableton. So again, Ableton is just running like any other virtual instrument that you could bring in here. That's the way I think about it. If you bring in Xband, then you would send MIDI data to it and you would trigger the sound in here. But we're now using Ableton as this plugin. So if I just go over to Ableton, this has now got all the sounds I need in it. So what I'm going to do is save this session here. Okay, so I just need to navigate to the session that I've created. Week session 2, and call this week 1 session 2. So now I'm saving this Ableton session into the Pro Tools folder, so everything's is still there. You can use tab just to go between effectively the edit window and the little mix window in here. I'm going to get rid of any channels that I don't need. So I don't need those 2 audio channels. Okay, so let's bring some sounds in. So it really doesn't matter what sounds you pick here, okay? You can actually bring in anything. So I'm going to go to Drum Essentials, and in fact, if I just go to Instruments here and go to bring that in later, Instrument Rack, and start just bringing in sounds that I like in here. So I'm just going to find some strings. That's quite nice. Just load that in, so I'm just going to drag that in here. Rotor violin. This is the cool bit, okay? Now if I go back to Ableton, back to Pro Tools now, and I go to the output of my MIDI session, you'll now see that this instrument has now appeared in here, okay? This is the instrument that's in Ableton. So Pro Tools knows that Ableton has this instrument ready to go, and it now means that I can send MIDI data to that particular instrument. So, now what should happen is started off sounding quite nice, but kind of fell off the mountain now. Cool, so I now have this MIDI coming in from a keyboard into Pro Tools. It's then getting sent from Pro Tools into this particular little instrument that's here. Then I'm taking the output from this and I'm bringing it into this first channel here. So I could then start putting loads of effects, all my EQs and compression, etc. onto this channel, and I'm going to have that sound. Cool, so far so good. However, now when I go back to Ableton and I can see my channel here, what I need to do is set the output to send to these buses, okay? Otherwise everything's just going to come out on mix L and R. So let's use that as an example. Let's go to piano and keys. Cool, I'm going to drag that into the next one. Now I've got electric tubes in here. Click back to Pro Tools and go to my second MIDI channel, and now I've got electric tubes and I can send it to that. Now I want it to come in on auxiliary 2 because it's the second channel. You can see it's still coming in on auxiliary 1, and that's because the output to this channel here, which is making the sound, is set to mix L and R, but I need to change it to bus 3 and 4. So again, just take your time to look through these channels, don't rush into it, and I know it's complicated, but it's all straightforward. It says here audio 2, so just think, where do I need to send this audio to? Well, I need to send it to ReWire out. That's now going to send it to Pro Tools, and now I've got the option to send it to bus 3 and 4. So if I don't go to ReWire out, I've only got the option of sending it to my stereo bus, my left and right outputs. Okay, cool, let's check it now. There we go, coming in on the second channel. Amazing. Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. Now what I'm going to do is go to my third MIDI channel, so I can create a new MIDI track just by right clicking MIDI channel, and let's find some cool sounds. Nice. I don't know what that is, but let's get in about it. So it's a sort of bending chord. So now if I go to my output for the MIDI 3, there it is, it's now appeared in here. Bender chord. So where's it going to appear though?
Channel 1.
Channel 1, good. Take that, Ronnie. Amazing. Okay, but I need to send that to 3 and 4, otherwise it's just going to come out my masters. So let's just clean all this up. ReWire first one, mix L and R. This track, ReWire out, plus 3, 5 and 6. Cool, and let's put some drums on this last one. Okie dokie. Drums. See if I've got something more kind of realistic. There we go. Perfect. So obviously this is your Saturday evening spent just going through these for hours, finding the ones that you like. You'll do it for now. Okay. Oh, there we go. So now I've got my drum kit in here. So this should appear now, of course, in Pro Tools. Click here, Grit Life Kit. Then, of course, change my output in here to rewire out. Then send it to 7 and 8. Let's see what we've got here. Terrible. Okay, but it does the job. Alright, so we can see that's coming in here. So let's start to name these things. So I'm going to call this rewire 1, rewire 2, rewire 3. Again, command and arrow takes you into the next dialog box. Rewire 4. And call these what instruments are actually on them. Okay, so this one was strings. Oh. Strings. Next one was a sort of organ sound. Next one was that weird, we'll just call it sound effect, and then drums in here as well. So again, we've got this sort of logical named channels in here. So I want you to think about not only this new concept and all these new skills, but also your housekeeping things, changing tempo, creating new tracks, renaming things, sending things in and out of your session. Now all I really want you guys today is just to have one auxiliary input here with everything from Ableton coming back into it, but I want you to trigger at least 4 channels in Ableton. If you feel comfortable with that, then get the rest of them set up, okay? This is an important part of your learning. Not only, as I say, are you doing the housekeeping things, but you're learning new concepts. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be utilising the technology, the hardware. Okay, so by the time it gets to you guys to create your own compositions or taking part in a multimedia project, you'll have an option of 3 different assessments to do that will buy into your own skill set. Using the hardware, using the software, using all this sort of stuff is giving you the complete DAW solution here. So I don't want to just give you out your project sessions and say, right, away you go for 10 weeks and mix and make a song. I'm really more interested that you learn how to talk to the computer and get the computer to talk to all the hardware as well. So Ableton's a really important part of that, and once of course you get your tracks in Ableton, you can then send everything out. I will not be covering in too much detail the operation of Ableton. I will simply be using it as a plugin with loads of sounds in it. I really expect you guys to take the time to go through, find the sounds that you like. Once you get to a point, you can do some basic MIDI editing in here. You can record your MIDI in here and then bring the audio out into Pro Tools. That's totally fine. But I really want to focus more on Pro Tools today. So the reason we brought in that little drum loop was so that we had something to play along with, but you can discard that if you don't want it, okay? But it's just the process of importing it, file, import audio is really important. Okay, so that pretty much takes us right down to the end of this document. Today's activities were to trigger 4 instrument sounds by arming MIDI tracks in Pro Tools, receive the sounds from Ableton using 1 return, and that's what that first session here was for, 1 stereo auxiliary input. Later on, what I want you to do is then, of course, if you're comfortable with that, is create 4 stereo returns coming from Pro Tools, and that's what I've created here. Again, very straightforward. And what can happen is, if you then don't have Ableton at home, but you've got Pro Tools and you want to take this session up the road to work with it, then you need to take the output from your strings channel and record it to an audio track. And it's an optional activity that if you get to that point, then I'll walk you through it, but I'm not going to go over it in class. I'm just going to want to give you guys as much time as possible this morning to work through it. So I know a lot of new stuff there, and there'll be bits where you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but once you sit down with the software and my document there and this video and quick just walk through it, then you should be totally fine with it. But again, don't sit stuck, put your hand up, because it's always an easy fix, and if you sit there for 10 minutes looking at it, you get frustrated, or you can put your hand up and get it fixed in 10 seconds. Okay, do you get any questions?
So say the first session is just 1?
Just 1 stereo auxiliary commit, and that's it. and the next one's 4. So I want you to create 2 separate sessions. When you're done with them, then make sure that they're contained within one parent folder and inside your folder on the desktop. It's good practice.
Brian, how do you switch between Windows and Linux?
On Ableton, just tab the tab key. Yep. Okay, cool. And make sure you save your Ableton session as well. Thanks, folks.